What's going on there? That went from the... Did I play the outro? Oh, good evening. I'm Zevagana. Welcome to the studio and the place of derping up. Because I think that's what I just did. I think I fired the outro rather than the intro, which went to the end play, and I also thought the microphone wasn't muted because it hadn't shown up on the display. My brain's gone. It's been a day of my brain going. Somewhat weird. Anyway, sorry. Let's do some pyrography. Maybe I'll settle down and do some work on this. Right. Do I want that or do I want the dots? Let's do the dots. Probably because that pen's set up. These days when I can afford it, I might try a different machine. Okay, so yes, I'm going to do a lot of darkening on this, but not just yet. Excuse me. So, and yeah, I need to change that face shape as well. That looks too fat. That's not so bad, but that just somehow just makes it look like that. This penny slot, that's alright. It's meant to be! Actually, in this bit of wood here, it's probably a bit too hot. We'll turn it down a little. I really need to save up for a microphone stand. It'll be a while, but I really need to save up for a microphone stand. Not for the microphone, for the camera. I could do with one microphone that's got a long boom arm. So I can put the stand like down here and have the camera way up here, because I keep banging myself into it and it's disrupting, it's disconcerting. As is the fact that I'm offset from that camera and yet I appear to be in the middle. I must be clipping the image. I am, aren't I? Doing those dots the wrong way. Still, a little bit of fiddling like that will get around that problem. Sometimes I wonder if the heat you feel on your fingers because you're gripping the pen hard. It just sort of seem like that sometimes. So I'm using a reference picture I'm looking at over there, just to help me sort of understand where the dots would be, what sort of shape they are. So that they do look like they're they look correct. Because even round dots, when something looks round, you look at it that way, it doesn't look round anymore. And that's one of the things that you're doing with the cat, is you're looking at the dots, which are on the side when you go over the top of the head. I'm not so sure I'm getting it right, but You know, my first time of doing a leopard in Pyrography, so I don't think I'm doing too bad. I am trying to be random. I'm really trying hard to be random. I'm not succeeding very well, but I'm trying really hard. If I was really doing fair, what I'd have to do is remember that I'd have to start at the back and work my way forward because all the front hairs are on top of the back hairs. But I'm not going to do it. And most of for this sort of fairly simple thing, it doesn't really matter. If I was going to do every single hair, as I do on the black and white cats, for example, then yeah, I need to do that sort of thing. Otherwise, it looks odd. Over the top, they start to go a bit longer than they are wide. Because when the dots at an angle, it's a compound sort of shape and it's interesting. That'll do. Right, now I gotta do some on that side. Same sort of thing, but not quite the same. I know this is going to want to be turned down, but I'm not going to turn it down just yet. Now, unlike a human, the maker of this cat didn't go, there's a space there, I've got to put a dot in it. Which is, as a human, you tend to want to do. Random Designs, good evening, welcome. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Nice to see you again. How are you doing? And thank you very much. I've got a base level of shading in. Put some dots in. Then I'll go to town on the shading. This whole side here wants to be darker, and there's a lot of shaping to go into it, but it is. Thank you very much. Join up your budget. Yeah, budgets. Mine is my budget for the next month is basically zero. I can. Well, no. I was about to say I can't spend anything. It's a case of we can't spend anything. Christmas has been expensive, even though it didn't intend it to be. So I'm trying to do random dots in the pattern, which is never very easy. That's a great thing to do. I have one debt that I want to pay off this year. It's the only debt I've got, which is a mortgage. I'd love to pay that off. Hoping to do that in the next few months, but then I'll have a little bit more spare cash. Then maybe I'll be able to try glass blowing, which is one thing I'd love to be able to do this year, is glass blowing or glass work. It won't necessarily be actually blowing glass, but shaping, hot flame work as it gets called. That's my goal for this year, if I have such a thing as a goal. I tend not to sort of do those sorts of things. It's too much like a New Year's resolution, which I resolve not to have New Year's resolutions, thereby breaking it before I start. I'm trying. It's really hard to do random dots. It really is, and compounded by the fact that I'm trying to get them in the right shape and angle. I'm also trying really hard in the pen work not to have smooth edges to the dots, because they're made out of fur. At long distance it looks smooth, but as you sort of get this close, you would be able to see the little hairy bits. And that's what I'm just trying to give an indication of in doing this. is that it's the hair patches. Not really ragged, just slightly ragged. My brain keeps seeing patterns and I keep wanting to complete the patterns, and it's not the right thing to do. What you almost need to do is sort of cover up some of it, do some dots, and then cover up that bit, and just keep giving yourself spaces to do it in. But it's kind of hard when you're using a hot tool, just so that you're not influenced by what you can already see. I've got some nails. I don't usually end up breaking my nails, so that surprised me then when I did that. I tend to do that sort of thing when I'm really trying to puzzle something through, and that when I'm trying to puzzle through, it's just where to go next. It would seem, it feels like it ought to be really easy to do all these dots, but it really is quite difficult. Just trying to work out, should I put a dot there or should I not put a dot there? They're sort of in lines and circles, but sort of not. When I've done this, I probably scratch some of the whisker marks in afterwards. I'm not trying to do them at the start here, it's just to it's just too much work to try and put like this. This is the odd one the odd one, it's the only one. I tried that, but it's really a lot of hard work if I was going to do lots of them. It's effective to come out like that. Not quite sure whether I'd get the same effect if I scratched it and then just glazed over the top, but we might find out because there's some to do on this side. Get rid of the hairs, don't want them on the tool. Otherwise it smells horrible. So what have you been doing design-wise lately, Bank Home Design? I'm guessing you've been doing some more of your pearl weaving. Sure, I've seen you on very much, but then again I've been very busy at work since before Christmas, so it's been a little bit difficult to watch streams whilst I'm working. There are times when I do actually need to concentrate more than having a stream on lets me. It's daft. I think I mentioned it last time, but I do put streams on while I'm working because it's easy to concentrate, except when I get into real detail and then I have to have dead silence. And it's been a bit like that for the past since I came back to work after Christmas. I've needed to concentrate quite a bit. We should put something else down there. Get the hair direction right. I feel like I've never finished with the dots. A Harry Potter design. Interesting. When I've done this, I was going to do some carving next. A couple of things that I was thinking of. One is to carve one of the... before I did this, I did a couple of Hearthstone cards in Pyrography. I was thinking of either carving one of those, or interestingly, as you mentioned, Harry Potter's type wand. So intricately carved handle with just a wand end. But I'm just sort of make it up as I go along, which I'm not very good at, so it would be a challenge. But that was one of the things I was thinking of doing, Harry Potter stuff as well. Abstract patterns. Abstract patterns are random patterns, which are not random. Yeah. That way, that's where the fur goes. I have to keep reminding myself of the direction of the fur. It all effectively radiates from there outwards. That'll do for the dots. Or at least for the moment. Now switch pens. One of the things I want to do is to shade all this darker, because one of the things I've discovered is if I create a shadow, if I can find the right place to do it, I discovered sort of that's the sort of look I want for that side, which tells me the whole thing is too light, and so I now need to shade all of this and then shade everything else to match. But this can be awkward. So now one of the hardest jobs in pyrography is to do a consistent shade across a large area of the wood. Without causing blobs and without having streaks. When I get down to this bit here, I know this bit of the wood just down here is awkward, it's harder, and it's going to cause difficulty in trying to apply colour, because it doesn't take up the colour quite as well as the rest of the wood does. Now I should really be doing this the other way. If I get it smooth, it doesn't matter. If I don't get it smooth, I should have been doing it the other way. And that's so that I should be doing it in the direction of the fur. That way if I get any streaking, it's in the fur direction. It just looks then like the fur is slightly clumped. So I may actually switch in a second, just in case. I really should do it right. Fur direction. Actually, it's not far off. That way. in some ways, I mean, this isn't a snow leopard, so it is kind of orange and black. So the fact that I'm doing this is kind of colouring it, sort of like it should be coloured, but it's not a colour image. So I did the ginger pussycat. That's not a colour image either, but yeah, it's done in a colour that's quite close to how he actually is. Right, this is the hard bit of the wood. So it's hard because it literally is hard. It's harder than the rest. It's where a branch has been at some point in the life of the tree that this wood came from. And the wood in that area is quite a lot harder than the rest of the tree. Probably got more to do with the fact that the wood fibres run slightly at odds to the rest. So. Hello, Wolfie. Thank you very much for the host. Yellow. You think it looks yellow? Could do. I actually do see bits of yellow on here, and some of it obviously could just be the camera. I see like a yellow edge, which is really weird because I'm fairly sure there is no yellow there, and it's your eyes playing tricks on you. Hello in Chinese. Okay. Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. You know what, Wolfie? I'd like to say I won the lottery today. It's currently standing at several £1,000,000. Okay, Vancom Design. I've already had my tea, so I did it before the start of the stream. Otherwise, I'd be wanting to finish early just to get something to eat. Got ya. I wondered if you'd say something like that. Did I really? You did. You heard what I wanted you to hear, but it wasn't what I said. You were discussing the way in which you can say things without actually saying something. What I said was, I'd like to tell you that I'd won. I can't, but I'd like to. And then you follow it up by saying, it's worth a couple of £1,000,000, which kind of sounds like they're both related to each other, which they sort of are, but not really. So I purposely misled you into thinking I said something I hadn't actually said. Oh, I knew you knew it, but in sort of a different context, it would be it would be harder to tell. But that's a more. I was trying to think of one the other night, and I just couldn't for the life of me. But that's kind of like what the thing we were talking about, where you actually say something and sort of two things which aren't really related, and both are true, but not together. I'm just thinking, I'll be uploading this video tonight to YouTube. It'll go live tomorrow evening. Anybody watching that replay will wonder just quite what it is. And I suddenly say about the lottery. I don't think if I really did win that sort of money on the lottery, I probably wouldn't be streaming that evening. Sorry, there must have been a hair on the wood. So did you continue to trick the streamer, or have they worked it out, or did you give in and tell them? Oh right, not had the opportunity yet. I want to know the results. So I'm now doing this, as I mentioned last night, I'm now doing this shading down here. There, that's it. Starting to look better. Starting to look better. It's one of these things that you don't actually realise. As I was doing it, I didn't actually realise. I knew it wasn't right, but I didn't actually realise what was wrong with it. Until last night we got the accidental shadow, and then it was suddenly kind of like, of course, that's what it is. And quite often I am a little bit like that with pyrography. It's don't know what's wrong with it until I change something and then it becomes immediately obvious what was wrong. You notice I swapped hands with the pens before I hit myself on the head. I did not want to brand myself. I'm sure the internet would have liked to see that, but I wouldn't. Interestingly, Wolfie, the subject of gender is relatively prominent in the UK at the moment because Big Brother, Celebrity Big Brother, which is on at the moment, two of the housemates, one of them, I understand, wears female-orientated clothing from time to time. And another one is actually transgender, and there's been a lot of discussions on the programme, you know, when showing you them discussing things about gender. So it's kind of an interesting thing that you trolling the streamer actually sort of seems to resonate a little bit with what's happening in the UK at the moment in terms of the big subjects, you know, the big important subjects. However, I'm not watching the programme, so it's only just what I've had told to me, so I don't know anything more about it. Yeah, a little bit of a challenge here because the side of this knot just right up at the side is a little bit, it's just gone light. So what I'm trying to do is get in with the pen and darken it down. It's a really fine line, and I suspect it's partly because just there's a minor dip in the wood, but it shows up as a light line across, as you can probably see it all the way across. But actually you can't on the camera, but I can quite clearly here. So that's often the trick, to sort of be able to, when things like that happen, to be able to get in with a pen and apply heat just to the very fine line that you've got without applying heat anywhere else, just so you can make it change colour to match the area around. I know I've probably said that before, but that's for anybody that's watching. This is the where you got a lot, have to, you know, it's quite a skillful thing to have to do. I'm glad I've put the dots in first though, because I think it wouldn't potentially look right if I'd just doing this on a spotless tiger, spotless leopard. It would be a spotless tiger, wouldn't it? Now, just thinking then, apart from passing through the room, I don't think I've watched television now for, I was about to say for several months, apart from the Christmas Day Doctor Who special. Night Rider, no, there's no song request because of copyright reasons. But thank you for the comment. Ultimate Official. Well, it's kind of more in front of you. But yeah. That's kind of the idea. You know, you're if you looked up and suddenly, you know, you're out in the dark and you looked up and suddenly saw that in front of you, you'd kind of be. Now, YouTube is also subject to copyright. You can play them, but it's it's to do with when you play. The fact that somebody's put music onto YouTube in order to allow people to watch it, that is a form of licensing. For me to take that music and put it alongside the video content that I'm producing here requires a completely different sort of licensing, and that usually isn't part of the licensing that somebody gives YouTube when they upload content. That's why what I'm actually playing music from, as you'll see in the Charlie's Petzel Rocks, and they specifically grant the right license for me to do this, so it doesn't get muted either by Twitch or by YouTube when I upload them there as well. So you do have to sort of take a care. What happens is, usually what happens is if you do play some things from YouTube and it gets ID'd, is Twitch or YouTube will just mute it. That really is to stop them being prosecuted, but it leaves, you know, it still leaves the broadcast, that's me, open to being prosecuted or at least being charged, which could be several £1,000s, for the appropriate licenses, and I can afford that. I don't know much about them, Wolfie. I'm aware that their graphics tablets haven't necessarily had good reviews, but I don't know anything about their actual sort of their computer screen based tablets. Of course, what I have the Wacom tablets and pens, of which I find them really good. But yeah, Night Rider, you need to ask Wolfie if you want to post a link and tell them what the link is about. So I'm just making the whole of this leg a lot darker, so it's pushed backwards into the image, and also sort of, you know, it's contributing to that sort of darkness popping out of the night. So the whole face is to be darkened as well and shaded to add some more of the 3D effect that you can see with the muzzle, where this is popping out at you at the moment. I need to sort of push the sides of the head back as well. Yeah, it's if I just turn this camera around, that's what that is. This is a Wacom tablet, but it's the same thing. It's a touch tablet, which suddenly, you know, that's just popping up the keyboard there. But that's a touch tablet, and when you start drawing on that with one of the pens, and you know you touch this and you draw and you get a line, or you get you draw and it's a flower, and you're just using this like a pencil. It's an amazing thing to do. It really is, as you sort of, I know you were talking about something else, but it really is cool to do that. And the other screen that I've got over here, what you should be able to see, the middle monitor there is a 27. I think it's a 27-inch Wacom monitor, which I can take that one and I can lay it virtually flat down, so I can almost draw on it like paper flat on the day. In fact, I probably can lay it almost flat. Again, it's like drawing on an A3 piece of paper. So it's it's worth. It's worth. You can draw these things with the finger, but providing the tablet or whatever supports it. This, I don't know if it won't really focus very well, but it's the size of a sort of a pencil nib. So quite literally, I can draw, just like I would do with a pencil. In fact, it's the pencil point is thicker than this is. Obviously, it's down to the resolution of the tablet as to exactly how thin you get and how big a line you get. But these things are just like a pencil. And the fact that a portable tablet is nice. I would say, and it's a generic problem with LCDs, you can't easily sort of take it outside and use it outside. I know when I got mine, which is that one there, the intent was to be able to do things like, go outside, go down onto a beach, for example, and draw live rather than sort of taking a photograph and drawing back here in the studio. But you have to find a shady spot to do it in, because otherwise you can't see the screen. That sort of graphics tablet from Huion might not be too bad, because it's a complete kit. What I've heard of the graphics tablets, as opposed to the tablets, the screen-based tablets, just the ones that don't have a screen, where that sometimes the drivers aren't that reliable for the PC, but a graphics full display, I would expect them to have sorted that out. So if you do get one, it will be interesting. I don't know. Well, I'm assuming it can do that. I know this one I've got can't. This is a Generation 2. I think it's a Generation 2 Wacom PC, and it came in two different flavours. There's this one, which is a standalone. It's a full-blown PC standalone. The other version was an Android tablet that would work as a screen with a integrated touch and graphics, or you could unplug it and then the Android would fire up, and if you found a suitable Android application, you could draw on it free floating. The next version after this, PC version, you could also plug in directly into the PC as a screen as well, and you unplug it and it was a standalone PC, which was a lot better. But like everything else, these upgrades always come immediately after you've bought one. I don't need it as a fourth monitor, because I actually have the two monitors either side of the big one you saw are both Samsung monitors. Before I got that, the big Wacom, I actually had three, so the other one sat down here. So at some point in the future, when I upgrade my PC and I can actually support 4 monitors, I'll put the other one back on. You can't beat lots of screen real estate when you've got a PC. One thing you do have to do though, Wolfie, when if you get something like that, is use it. It's really hard. Or it's really easy not to use it, just to leave it there and sort of not actually switch it on, pick it up and actually draw on it. As I say, I got mine to be portable, and I don't often use it portable, and it's kind of a pity, really. I may have to try sort of make extra effort this summer to actually go outside the studio here, because from the garden there's some absolutely fantastic views across the valley, which I'd love to be able to paint. Not that I can paint, but that's the nice thing about the graphics. You can simulate paint and you can try all sorts of things out. So if you do get one, I'd certainly be interested in what you think about it and what you produce with it. It'd be great to see. Over the years I've had quite a few graphics tablets, not ones with screens, but you know, the graphics tablets, and I've kind of always been disappointed with them, and eventually, it's only a few years ago now, I actually saved up, and that's when I got that big one and decided, you know what, I was going to get the market leader and I've not been disappointed since. One thing, if you get the chance to try it before you you pay out money, Wolfie, take that chance, because and especially try software on it. As an example, that monitor, because it's so big, relatively speaking, I know there's bigger ones these days, on my PC. And I've got an i7 running at 2.4 gigs. That's its stock speed, and it's not overclocked at the moment. If I use not Adobe, it's Painter. Who makes Painter? Can't remember, which is silly. But if I run that on a large canvas, it's noticeably slow. Not so much when you're just doing paint, but if I try and do a rotate or something like that, then I get sort of lag. So if you get the chance, I mean, I don't know the graphics tablet down here, because it's a smaller screen, and I think actually the processor is faster. I don't see that with that. So if you get the chance to actually try one before you buy it, it would be good for you to actually try it, especially if you can try the software that you want to use on it, and see whether you get those sorts of effects. Because if you do, it might drive you potty, and it might be worth at that point thinking, do I save up and get something a little bit more powerful? Right, oh, it's a bit darker. But I probably want this a lot darker thinking about it. The shadow that I was projecting doesn't have to look a lot darker than you think it does. There's a slight light there. I don't know whether I want that there or not. Let me just look at that. I mean, I've still got to shade this side even darker because it's curved, but it's getting down to the sort of level. If I do that now, it's going to be a lot darker. I mean, that's probably too dark now if I just shade it like that. It's not bad, but it's starting to get there. I'm just a little bit wary about trying to do it all in one leap. So if you do get one of those tablets, Wolfie, what sort of art style are you looking to play about with on it? Or to use on it, so play about with it kind of implies something I didn't mean. I mean, for me, I love just dabbling in all sorts of the different medias. Just because, you know, getting out oil paints or watercolours or even pastels especially would be just really messy. And the nice thing about the graphics programs and the tablets is that there's no mess, and you know, that's not very good, delete, start again, nice and easy. What's Weeb? And make emotes. Okay. So you're going to need some software that will let you see something, draw something large but see it small. I don't know what software there is that does that, but and if you're any good at emotes, you are welcome to see if you can come up with 3 for the channel. Anime. Okay. I take it it's a particular style of anime then, which, as you know, is not something I particularly watch a great deal. Some great art in it, that's for sure, and it has popularised drawing and that sort of style very much as anime. Animo. Okay. I wasn't sure if that, you know, was just an unintentional spelling. Yeah, the channel here, because it's an associate, has the opportunity to have 3 emotes, 1 for each of the tier of subscriptions. But I, for the life of me, cannot think of what they could be. I mean, it's fairly easy to sort of just copy what everybody else does. You know, you've got the You've got sort of the emotes, you know, the kappa and things like that, but kind of want to be, well, partly different and partly have something which actually says, you know, that's this particular channel, as opposed to just a another version of the same that everybody else has. I'm trying to think of something which is kind of unique to the channel. Now I might need a little bit more heat here, because as it's not quite linear in terms of how much heat you have to apply to make something go darker. So the darker it is, the more heat it takes to make it go darker still. Kind of like reheating food. It takes more heat to reheat food than it does to have cooked it in the first place. So yeah, I've got to get my cooking wood in there somehow. That's looking a lot better. A lot better. Thank you, Wolfie. I think it. Well, I think it looks a lot better. Apparently, it's becoming more atmospheric, which is kind of the effect. But also, it's making it look more real. It's more of a natural sort of colour. I mean, you're getting sort of a little bit of the 3D effect. I've got to widen the darker area on this side, but this bottom edge here now is starting to look more realistic. This is too flat, much too flat. I know it's some more work to do on there. But I thought this was, as I was looking at it, it sort of looked about right, but it's not. It's certainly showing up now to be a lot better. Still, I think that's still a bit too white, so we'll deal with that. But okay, I may regret this a little bit, but I'm going to maybe regret this. I'm going to turn it up a little bit. At least with doing a leopard, if you overcook a particular place, you can always just turn it into a dot or a spot and kind of hide the mistake. Just a lot of work here trying to keep a consistent tone. Again, I'm probably going to say it, but the camera probably isn't picking up the subtle tone, subtle changes in tone that this is doing. You're noticing the end effect, but I can see here in person some very, very subtle changes doing this. For example, this is very slightly darker than this, and I can see it quite clearly here. The camera probably won't pick it up. And I need to make sure I sort of even those out a little bit so they're not particularly, if they are there, they're not as visible. I was going to put this one up for sale on the Etsy site, but Lady Zara has already decided she wants to keep this one. So I shall have to put some of my other ones up. So if anyone has any interest in the pyrography pieces, keep an eye out on the Etsy shop. Unfortunately, they're not a cheap thing. As you've been watching, you can see just how much work these sorts of things take and how long they take to do so. What I should say at this point is, but they're good value for money. Actually, I think they are good value for, or they will be good value for money. This is one reason why it pays, if you can, pick your own wood for pyrography, to do so. This particular knot, which is technically I guess what it is, this area of wood is challenging the being able to keep a nice smooth tone, because that particular area of the wood is harder. So when you buy wood online, you get what they send you, so you have to sort of hope they give you good stuff, and obviously get it from a place where you can trust that you'll get reasonably good stuff, and they give you what, roughly what you think you're getting. Fortunately, a lot of places that sell wood don't really consider pyrography, so what's good to them and what's good to you not always match up, especially if you're buying it from like a home retail place, because they don't expect you to be creating art on it. Fortunately for things like plywood, there is a grading structure which can help you get good wood. So birch plywood, for example, is graded A through to G, I think, and there's AA and AAA as well. and so you want at least A grade, and preferably AA, AAA grade. I think the AAA grade is completely knot free. There's no branches or intrusions in it at all. Otherwise, if you sort of, another place to get it from is places that sell it for laser cutting, because laser cutting needs reasonably consistent wood with a reasonably good clear surface, so like the AA grade birch plywood, because the laser needs to be able to get through, and if the wood's harder, the laser has no feedback, so it just blasts through and doesn't cut it properly, then people would not be pleased. So laser grade, as it's sometimes called, plywood is good for pyrography, generally because it's got a nice clear surface. Of course, if they're not in such a place that you make use of it, like if I was doing a landscape and there was a knot up here, I'd turn it into the sun. But actually, if I was doing a landscape, I could turn that into either a puddle or a ripple in a pond, or a reflection, perhaps, in water. It's not, though, it's a leopard, so I can't do that in either case. I just have to work with it. At the start of this work, if I'd have done this like this dark, I'd have thought I was ruining it, and it would be much too dark. And that would have been because of all the white around it. It would, the contrast makes it look even darker. But as it happens, even at this level of darkness, I probably think it's a bit light. Well, whilst I was just thinking about it, Wolfie, the other thing that's why it's worth trying out any tablet, actually, if you can get your hands on it going into a shop, is some people cannot get over the fact that the pen nib doesn't touch the actual work, because the tablets often have quite a reasonably thick surface on, because you've got to scribble on it, and you knock it and bang it and things like that. So they tend to be sort of either things like Gorilla Glass or reasonably thick glass. And what it means is it sort of feels like your pen is floating above the paper, and yet it's marking the paper, and it's not quite in line. And especially as you get towards the edges, it tends to wander a little bit away from the pen nib. Some people can't find it's really hard to draw like that. So it's worth you trying one somewhere, unless you already have, just to see if that effect bothers you. Hey. I was just thinking. Oh, sugar. I was just thinking it's about time I stopped doing this. Yeah, see you tomorrow, Wolfie. Thank you very much for dropping in this evening, and have a good evening. I am just going to finish going the rest top end of this leg, and then I'm stopping in a known place. This area is still light around here. Okay, we'll work on that a little bit more later. But that's it for this evening. Turn that off to make sure I don't forget, as I sometimes do. That's actually coming along really nicely. This edge still needs darkening off more because it will then give you that slight, as you're starting to see down here, you've got a slight curve effect, which is what I'm after. Need to darken this down. And that leg probably needs to go darker as well. Maybe leave a little bit of a highlight here, not as white as this, but because as you noticed here, there isn't a lot of difference between this very slight light edge there and what's next to it here. I can hardly see any difference here in person. The camera's picking it up. But you know, a couple of shades for sort of a highlight, maybe just around this sort of area here. It was, I guess, come along that sort of line there. And then we move on to doing something very similar on the face. I may not go as dark as this on the face, though, just because the face is the idea. Is it's kind of, wow, it's right in your face. The face is in your face. It's big, it's striking, it's there. And I've got to fill the ears in. But I'm enjoying that. I think that's looking a lot better. So, if you are watching and you're not following and you'd like to see more of this, when can you? Tomorrow night. Lovely. From about 7 PM UK time, which is GMT at the moment, which makes it a bit easier to calculate your own time zone. And if you push the follow button, then you'll get Twitch to notify you if Twitch will do that, depending on whether you've set the bells and you got the right browser running and all these sorts of things. But you can also follow me on Twitter. I do tweet when I'm going to go live as well, which is a great way of finding out when it's there. And considering the other two buttons up there, if you'd like to consider supporting the channel, then the subscription there is a great way of doing that. The proceeds of which go towards the art materials and the tools that are done to do all these sorts of art forms. Well, that's my advertising over. I shall now hand you over to Twitch's advertising and maybe some more to hosting if any of the other streamers that I like to watch are currently broadcasting. So thank you if you have been watching. If you've not been watching, thank you for watching this bit anyway. Otherwise you wouldn't know. I will have to stop saying that, it's too silly. And I'll see you on the next stream. Bye for now.